Tonight we're happy to have Michael Coleman and Patricia Landis with us, two individuals who have been very involved with this effort. Michael is the statewide campaign coordinator for Yes for Independent Maps. He's formerly a member of Senator Durbin's staff and has 10 years of experience doing these kind of broad statewide campaigns. How's that for a job? He will give us an update on the current status of the Yes for Independent Maps, both statewide and here in Champaign County. Patricia is our league sister from Peoria. She was previously the planning and zoning director in her county, but she has left that position in order to rejoin the League of Women Voters and devote all of her energies to this referendum. She is going to share strategies that they are currently using in the Peoria area and give us some food for thought about ideas yet that we might implement here in Champaign County. Materials regarding this petition drive are also available on the back table. Many of you, I know, have signed petitions as you came in. There are petitions for you to pick up and circulate. And if you're going to carry petitions, I would certainly encourage you to take along with you one of these instruction sheets, which has some good information about what's acceptable, what's not acceptable in seeking petitions, and also gives you some ways in which you can return your completed petition so that it can be included in the count. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this meeting over to our guests, and we'll begin with Michael.
Thanks, Barbara. I'll start off by saying that my mom has no idea what I do for a living. Whenever she tells her friends, she just tells her friends that I'm involved in politics in some way or another. So, you know, I'll use my Friday night as an example, and I mean no disrespect to Tom back in the back, but I had to call a reporter during dinner because he had misquoted me. So, you know, my day can range anywhere from that to pacing around the headquarters asking staff what they know. So, having said that, I want to give you an update on where we are with this campaign, this statewide effort. Talk to you a little bit about how important your work is here and across the state, and tell you a little bit about how we move forward and how we really get this on the ballot. You know, everyone here should know the background for this initiative. It was, you know, because the League has a very strong history with it here in the state and in other parts of the country. Our ballot initiative is mirrored very much after the California initiative that got implemented in 2008, which the League was instrumental in getting passed. It sets up an 11-person independent commission with people that do not have conflicts of interest. So no elected officials, no state employees, no state lobbyists, no federal lobbyists, no contractors, no people that own a company that's a contractor for the state. And then for a period of 10 years after you serve on this commission, you can't run for state office, and you cannot be appointed to any offices in the state that requires Senate confirmation, period. We take away the ability to game this system for political reasons. We've seen Republicans do it, we've seen Democrats do it. In this state and in other states, it is par for the course. It is what happens every 10 years. And we would suspect something was wrong with politicians if they decided to not gerrymander maps for their political benefit and for the detriment of their opponents. Having said that, the toughest part of this campaign is upon us right now. We are trying to gather 300,000 petition signatures from across the state. We have hundreds of volunteers, literally hundreds of volunteers across the state, made up into 25 regional teams. And, you know, I told Tom this, and I will tell this to you too, and everyone can quote me on this. The two best teams in the state, Champaign and Peoria, period, hands down. We have the most signatures coming from here. We have the best activists. We have the most engaged activists. I get the most random emails from these two regional teams. and they are working every single day, and your work is very much appreciated. Having said that, there's still a lot more work to do. I mean, as you can see outside, there's snow, it's 5 degrees. It is very hard to collect signatures when it's this cold, which means that we need more volunteers. We need more people rowing this boat down this river. But it's totally doable. Right now, we are well on pace to reach our signature goal before the May 4th deadline. Again, we need 300,000 signatures. So every day, our field organizers are talking to volunteers across the state. They're just setting up one-on-one meetings with activists and organizers. They're meeting with coalition groups. They're making pitches. They're delivering petitions. They're picking up petitions. And they're talking with people about ways to gather signatures. And that's a little bit of what Pat's going to touch on later in some of the great work that is happening in Peoria. But I will say that everyone's work here who's helping gather signatures is integral part of this campaign, and we view you as an integral part of this campaign. This will not be done. This cannot be done without volunteer help. We've learned from experience in other states. When I say we, I mean the royal lead political operatives have learned from mistakes in other states that when you do not include a volunteer component in collecting signatures, you essentially harm yourself in the general election campaign because you're not building capacity. So what we're doing is we're building a statewide campaign. And to do that, we need to be talking to voters across the state. And that is where you're important, because on May 5th, this campaign doesn't end. It actually just starts. So on May 5th and through November 2014, we'll have to be working to get out the message, to talk about why this is important, to talk about how gerrymandering affects every single one of us, and we don't even realize it, and then to really turn out the vote. So your help is extremely important and essential to this campaign. And I don't know if it's appropriate, but I wanted to leave time for questions. Madam President, yes, I see that I do have the okay. I don't know if there's any questions about the amendment, the campaign, anything? Yes, ma'am.
When is the next time that districts will be redrawn?
Yeah, so that'll happen after the 2020 census. Our ballot measure does not call for a mid-decade redraw in any way whatsoever, and that is on purpose. This is not a personal affront to any one person or any group of people. This is simply a means to add transparency and independence to a very broken process. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Because we're taping this, that'll be replayed on Urbana TV, maybe you could give a brief recap of what the proposal says and
Absolutely.
versus the current state.
Yeah, so
how it currently works.
Of course. So currently, political leaders draw the maps to their benefit and to the detriment of their opposition. And they do this almost literally behind closed doors. And whether those back rooms are filled with smoke or not is for someone else to know. But we do know that special interests and lobbyists and political leaders draw these maps without a lot of say from other legislators, from voters around the state. So they are essentially picking their voters rather than us having the opportunity to pick our legislators. What this amendment does is amend the state constitution to take that power away from political leaders and to put it in the power of an 11-person independent commission that is seated for the express purpose of drawing state maps. Once they draw the maps, they're done. This is not a permanent fixture in government. It is a temporary post for 11 people. Anyone in the state can apply. I talked briefly about who can't be on this commission. So politicians, people that have run for office about 4 years before this commission is set, state employees, state lobbyists, federal lobbyists, people that live under the same roof as these people, and then for 10 years after you serve on this, you're not allowed to run for office in the state. And that's all to ensure that we have a fair process that is not being gamed by politicians. So anyone can apply except those people. In California, they saw about 30,000 people apply to be on this commission. So the Auditor General is responsible for the intake of applications. The intake of applications is considered an open meeting, and we can all see who's applying to be on this commission. You know, they'll black out social security numbers, but we can see who's applying, and we can see who they're taking out because of conflicts and who they're putting in the staff because they're qualified. The Auditor General's office comes up with the 100 most qualified people, and that is considered our pool. From there, we have the 4 legislative leaders come in, and they each get to take out 5 people each. So what we saw in California is the Republicans took out the Democrats that were most partisan, and the Democrats took out the Republicans that were most partisan, in their eyes. So now you have a pool of 80 people, highly qualified, less partisan. So the Auditor General does a lottery now. They pick out 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and 3 non-affiliated with either political party. 3 of these people have to be from Cook County, and then 1 each from the other judicial districts in the state. So from here, we have 73 people left in this highly qualified, less partisan pool. And we have the 4 legislative leaders come back in, and we say each of you get to pick 1 person each. And it has to contribute to the geographic or demographic diversity of this panel. So we have 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, 3 non-affiliated. To approve any map, you need 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and 2 non-affiliated to vote yes for it. So all the Republicans and non-affiliated, or all the Democrats and non-affiliated, cannot have a control over a map. It requires 2, 2, and 2. This process is completely open. It requires touring the state in every judicial district before the map is drawn and after the map is drawn. Any 2 members of this commission exchanging emails, sitting to have coffee, whatever, is considered an open meeting, and it must be publicly announced. And we can all see the minutes and the emails and the conversations that they have and who they're meeting with. It is the most. It will be the most open process in government. Yes, sir.
Can you get Senator Durbin to endorse this?
Do you have a cell phone on you? I forgot they mentioned that I had worked for the senator. You know, there are a lot of political leaders in the state that we're currently talking to about getting on board with this because it is a heavily charged political issue. Some will be more cautious than others, but this campaign feels and this coalition feels that we'll be able to get a pretty good cross-section of leaders on board. You know, it is not an understatement, and it is more than a talking point to say that this is a bipartisan coalition. You know, many of you in this room will know that the Chamber of Commerce and the League of Women Voters might not agree on a lot of things, but they agree on this. David Axelrod and Ron Gidwitz might not agree on a lot of things, but they agree on this. Democrats and Republicans across this state agree on this because it is good policy and it is good for Illinois. Other questions? Yes, sir.
I think one thing you've left out is that this doesn't apply to U.S. Congress at all. It applies only to the state.
Exactly.
So I'm wondering how many people that sign this petition think it applies to U.S. Congress?
Well, we've been very clear that it does not apply to Congress. We've told all of our volunteers that. It's all over our website. The Illinois Constitution does not allow us to alter the way we draw congressional maps via a petition process. It only allows us to change the structure and procedure of the way the legislature works. So that the map drawing for state ledge is in the Constitution. Congressional is not. Other questions? Okay. Well, again, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for inviting me down. It's always a pleasure to be in Champaign. Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you. Before I invite Pat up, I do want to say, just to sort of dovetail on Michael's comment about the nonpartisan nature of this group, yes, it certainly is true on the state level, judging by some of the names that I have seen as part of this yes for independent maps. I would also assure you that it is, the group that is working locally is a nonpartisan group as well. I don't know where the strangest contrast would be, but when you have a Steve Beckett and you have an Al Nudo working together on this, and these are 2 guys who have worked together on many things when both of them were on the Champaign County Board, the fact that they agreed to come together in their private lives and work on this campaign, I think is remarkable. I didn't know Sherry Steinman until this committee opened up. And I know we're not on the same page politically. But, you know, I think Sherry feels the same way that I do about the merits of this issue. And again, it's been interesting to work with individuals who are not necessarily like-minded on most political issues. So this has been good. And people who have come in looking for petitions, for whatever reason that they see as the merits of this, I honestly don't know what their politics are. It's none of my business. So I'm just happy that we have people who feel so strongly about this issue and are willing to go that extra step and carry petitions around. So, Pat, could you give us a sense of what Peoria is doing that
Yes.
works so well?
Right. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to use notes because this is a subject I'm so passionate about. You know, I keep talking and at some point you would stop listening and that's not good. So, my name is Pat Landis and I'm a league member from Illinois, from Peoria. And tonight I'm here with Cheryl Budzinski. She's the president of our league. And what's really great is that she has allowed me to work on this topic and take it as a portfolio. Thank you. So I'm asked to talk about two things tonight. First of all is why did I get involved? And then second of all is how are we having some successes in Peoria? So how I got involved is really simple. I believe that redistricting is one of the most crucial steps that we can have for the future of our state. And having believed that then, it's like, so what do I do when I started hearing about this? And Yes for Independent Maps is an incredible organization. They're doing a good job. I'm a volunteer for them. But I firmly and personally believe that the League of Women Voters will be the instrument to make this happen in the state of Illinois. So I got involved because I believe that we should have a government that we deserve, that we want, and that functions in the best interest of all the citizens. And we don't have that with the current way that we draw legislative districts. We have to change one component that's part of the fundamental organization of how we elect officials, and that's how the legislative districts are drawn. We need to have the power on that. I don't want the politicians to decide who can vote for them. I've seen what happens every 10 years when that census data comes out. The census ends, and in March of the next year, they release the data. And that's the data that should be used for redistricting. You know it is. But you know the data that's really used? And that's the data that shows where every one of you lives, what your political affiliation is, when you voted, and how you voted. I've used it. I've had it on my phone working for a candidate. I know how it works. You know how it works. And what I would suggest to you, if it worked fine, we wouldn't be having the problems that we have right now. So one of the ways that we can have a better government is to have an independent commission working, as Michael said, fair, transparent, to draw these districts without regard for two things. Don't look at the voting records, and don't look where the incumbents live. And if we do that, we're going to have an increase in the number of contested races, which offers all of us more choices. Maybe that choice is to run for office ourselves. Maybe that choice is to have a choice, to have more than one person. We're going to see an increase in the quality of the race. When you have competition, there is more discussion on the issues, more discussions on the positions, more interaction with the voters, and you have increased accountability to the voters from both the candidates and the elected officials. Right now, with only, was it 2 or 4% of the races for General Assembly being contested, what is that, where does that leave us as a voter? We have no choice. We have no interest. And how much interest does that elected official have for us when there's more accountability to the party and less accountability to the voters? So that's why I got involved. And when I got involved, I thought, how could I best invest my efforts to make this positive change happen? Because I'm a firm believer, if you're going to believe in something and it's important, you put your money where your mouth is. In this case, it's my time. And I talked to the people at Yes for Independent Maps. They passed the test for me. I'm going to work with them. So I'll give you 20 hours a week And I thought, how can I increase what I'm doing? What other group has the instantaneous, absolute credibility when it comes to making democracy work? What other group, at its core, has the value of promoting an open governmental system that is representative, accountable, and responsive? That's a no-brainer. It's the League of Women Voters. Years ago, I was a League member in the 70s and 80s, and I was fortunate enough to join at a time where I could sit down and some very wise women showed me how to study an issue and how to take action, and take action to get good results. Those lessons I learned, I applied to the struggle for getting ERA passed, that's how long ago it was, everyone, and Illinois state penal reform. Those same lessons I used to train my staff, and I used to work on local issues for 30 years. I believe that the leagues all over the state of Illinois have the reputation and the credibility to secure the needed signatures from a frustrated and desperate voter population. People want change. And as an individual, how can you affect that change? I mean, you just look at it and you think it's too much. Well, this is simple. This is one step to get us there. And I have a long list of different successes that the league's had over the years. I'm not going to bore you with that, but I'll talk about my personal favorite, redistricting reform. The league is all in. They partnered with the U.S. Census to get everybody counted. They supported scientific sampling for the census. The league, all over the country, has hosted redistricting conferences. They've gone to the Supreme Court with a friend of the court briefs aimed against political and racial gerrymandering, and have played pivotal roles at state levels to advocate for improved redistricting processes. This is what our state league president said, and this is important to know because a lot of times when you're talking to the media or you're talking to other groups, you need to have like a couple of really hit 'em hard sentences that somebody who's an expert. So I've got 2 sentences for you. One is from Mary Kubasik. She says, the Illinois Independent Redistricting Amendment is an important reform essential to bringing transparency, nonpartisanship, and independence to the redistricting process and ending incumbent protection and voter disenfranchisement. The League is excited to work for Yes for Independent Maps. And I guess what I'm saying is if we're excited to work for them, we need to make a pledge to get those numbers in. We need to have a pledge where every league member in this state says, I'll get 100 signatures, and I'm going to tell you how to do that quickly. So anyway, that's why I got involved. We have to get 500,000 signatures. Actually, we only need 298,299, but there's going to be challenges. Who better has a track record of successful petition drives than the league? Who knows how to go out there and know the person signing has to be a registered voter? You want them to print the address so it can withstand the challenges. We know how to get that done. So I think it's sort of funny that I was invited here to talk to you on how to get it done when Champaign is just kicking butt getting signatures. You guys are just doing a wonderful job. Barbara, Trent, Diane, Teresa. It's amazing. And we trade stories, because if something works in Champaign, it's going to work in Peoria, it's going to work in Downers Grove, it's going to work in Alton, Illinois. And we need to take those best practices and share them, because we don't have time to waste. So, what you need to do is to divide the world into 2 groups of people. These are the people you know, and these are the people that you don't know. Okay, for the people you know, there's options to get at least 100 signatures. First of all, you always carry a petition, and I call it concealed carry. I carry these petitions with me at all times. I have them in my purse or in my jacket, and I always have at least 2. I won't bore you with the story. I'm in the emergency room. I thought, hey, these people feel sorry for me. Got 9 signatures that day. Okay. So you need to carry them with you. If you see anybody you know, if you've even seen them once before, you don't need their name. You stop them and you ask them to sign the petition. Our experience has been people want to sign this petition. They want change. They want to feel like they're doing something. They want to be a hero. They want to go to work, home, talk to a relative, say, you know what I signed today? I'm going to help make change happen in this state. So here's the people you know, and I want you to start keeping track of which groups of people you know. Here's the easy ones. You've got your neighbors, people on either side, your neighborhood, in your building, in your project. You've got friends and you've got relatives. Someone will come up to me and they'll say, oh, I can't take a petition, I just don't know anybody. By the time we go through this list, they know they can get 100 names, and so will you. Then you get the work-related people. If you're still employed, fellow employees. If you've got rules that you can't have petitions in the workplace, you have breaks, you have lunch, you have parking lots, you have before work, you have after work. And if you're working with people and you don't know them that well, or talk to them after work, get to know them better. Okay? You have customers. Depending on the type of business that you're in, you can ask your customers to sign. Use some common sense here. This won't always work. And then you have people you do business with as a customer. Your hairstylist, your dentist, the guy that fixes your car, the person who sells you insurance. Remember, you always have this with you. You ask them to sign. Sometimes they'll do it just to be polite. Sometimes they'll do it because they care. We don't care as long as they're a registered voter. We want that signature. Now we're going to shift gears. We're into organizations, formal organizations and informal. How many people here are members of book clubs? Raise your hand. Okay, book clubs are a wonderful place. These are smart people. They read. They enjoy reading. You take this there, you have them sign them, and you give everybody there in the book club 4 petitions and ask them to bring them back the next month, okay? Fantasy football, basketball. Is there fantasy hockey? I don't know. If you're into any fantasy groups, and we won't ask what kind, take this with you to your fantasy group and get it signed with real names.
The reporter's gone, so we're fine.
Yeah, not fantasy names, real names. Okay, next we go to service organizations. Rotary, Kiwanis. There's all these groups. They meet once a week. They do good deeds, and there's 2 things that they're really good for us. 1, they're there and they can sign petitions, and 2, they eat up speakers. They need speakers. These are the groups that you go to and say, can I come and speak? You go there, you take some petitions, you have them sign petitions, then you give them petitions, have a woeful look in your face, say 500,000 signatures, I don't know how we're going to do it, please help us. Community service organizations. I know league people. How many of you are on a committee, a commission, an advisory group, yada, yada, yada? Those are people that can sign petitions. Take the petitions with you to meetings. Church and church-related groups. Retiree groups. Card and game clubs. Sports and workout groups. Do not go to the gym unless you've got this with you. Always have an ink pen too. Civic organizations, hobby groups. And the gold mine of all, school events for children and grandchildren. How many of you go to these events and you sit there and it's the 4th grade band concert, it's the freshman basketball. You go to these events and you go with your family and you're sitting there and you're captive. So, the 4th graders are marching off with all their instruments. You're waiting for the 5th graders to come on. If you can't get 10 signatures there, you need to seriously think about what's going on. Take this with you and you pass it around to the people that you know. Alumni groups, volunteer groups, any place you volunteer, take this. And don't forget to ask the people that you're helping serve if they'd like to sign. It's amazing. So often in our communities, I think that we don't look carefully at everybody and give them equal opportunities to engage in civic activities. Classes and any other groups. Carry this with you. Do you have a Bergner's here? All right. Bergner's pre-sale for shoes, a gold mine. So I'm at Bergner's, because I'm getting 30% off because I'm doing the pre-sale. And I see this lady I know, Janet. Janet, come on over here. Whip it out. Janet is signing this. 7 other people sitting there come up and ask me if they can sign. They don't like you to solicit in the store, but if they ask you, it's different. Intermission at cultural events. I'm at the junior college for a musical thing. At the break, I see a guy, Jake, hey, I've got this, will you sign it? Everyone around me asked to sign it, and the man behind me asked if he could have 5 petitions. Let's understand how frustrated and angry people are. Let's understand how desperate people are for change. And standing in line. You're standing in line at the grocery store, at the checkout at Barnes and Noble. You know, the worst thing someone can do is say no thank you. So now we're going to go to the other group. These are the people that you don't know. And this is where you have to have a little bit of organization. Community events, large public gatherings, cultural events. You need to be there. It's really nice if you can secure permission and go inside because it's cold outside. If you can't, stand outside in the public right-of-way. And I may add that we are looking for volunteers for the weekend of March 13th and March 20th. That will be the state basketball tournament in the city of Peoria. We will have people from all over the state there, and we will ring the block around the Civic Center, having 10 people stationed for 2-hour shifts. We will get thousands of signatures. So come on up and we'll probably give you like a free sandwich or at least a bag of pretzels. So if you can't get inside, stand on the public right-of-way. Think of conventions, big dinners, parades. Let's face it, you don't have a lot of parades, but March is coming up and you're going to have the St. Patrick's Day parade. Do you have one in this area? Okay, come to Peoria. We have all these people. People drag their kids out of school. There's thousands of people there. They start drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning. And by the time they get to the parade, they're very happy to sign petitions. When you're looking at a parade, you want to look at the staging area and the viewing area and get someone in each area to get signatures. And by the way, when you're working a large group of people, you should use 2 clipboards because you'll go up and it's a couple or it's 4 people, and it really increases your production because remember, 500,000 signatures, you want to increase your production. Also wear your league button. We tried a little test this summer at the art fair. We had 2 or 3 people without league buttons, 2 or 3 with league buttons. You got the league button on, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. It really is. People see that, you have immediate credibility. They know that this is an issue that's been studied, and they know that this is a fair position to take. Business locations. In Peoria, we don't meet. Every week we are at Apple's Bakery. In case you're in Peoria, it's on North Knoxville, and we're there every Saturday from 10 until noon. Every week that gets published in our local newspaper. And people know if they want to sign a petition, if they want to pick up petitions, or they want to turn a petition in, we're there. We make it easy for them. And we also have a notary there, just like you're doing tonight. You have to make this easy for people. So you might talk to businesses that you know to see if you can set up a weekly stop there, or you can ask them to recruit petitions from their employees or from their customers. You have a lot of opportunities at the university that I probably don't fully appreciate. You need to think about how you can tap into that. Presentations to group meetings. If you be a speaker yourself, if you need a speaker, you call Michael up or your representative. Whatever the group is, they'll get an appropriate speaker. Senior living facilities, that's what we're hitting in February. All different levels of senior facilities. And we have some league members that currently reside there. Others we're calling and saying, can we give a short presentation and have petitions there. And then last, look at your partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. Hear clearly what the Illinois Chamber has to say, because this resonates, I think, with almost everyone. They say the adoption of this amendment would represent the most dramatic action the citizens of Illinois could take towards fundamental change to shake up the status quo in state government, establishing an independent process for drawing legislative maps will diminish the influence of party power brokers, yield more competitive elections, and produce boundaries that the average citizen understands. Take that to your businesses, and we have the entire text of this message, and it's good to remind business people why they need a better business climate. Quick reminders and petitions. The people who sign it have to be registered voters. Ask them to write their name. Okay, this is like if you're a school teacher, particularly like in the primary grades, this is what you're saying. Sign your name as it is in your voter's registration card, and for some reason, movement of your head seems to work too. And then print your address, print your city, print your county. Ask them not to use abbreviations unless it's for direction or like street or avenue. They should not make any other marks in the petition. Sometimes people get excited And at the top of the petition, there's 2 boxes. Don't let them check those. It screws it all up. And then make sure if you're circulating this, you sign in front of a notary. This is simple. 100 signatures per league member, and I'm going to be asking this from all the state leagues on February 1st. Easy. We'll be there. 100 signatures per league member. That's all it takes. We can do this. We know how to do this. We've been doing this for decades, so let's make it happen. Thank you. Any questions?
Did you say something about signing in front of notaries?
Okay, on the petition, if you are circulating a petition, you must see everyone sign it. And then when you turn that petition in, your signature has to be notarized. Okay? Now, sometimes we think that's a barrier. So several of us got notary stamps. I now have a second career. I'm a notary. And we make it easy for people. You can also tell them they can go to their insurance company, they can go to their bank institution. There may be notaries at work. But the people who sign the petition must be registered voters and sign in front of the person passing the petition. Someone has to be in control of that petition at all times. And then the person passing it has to sign in front of a notary. Good question. Other questions? Well, as I said, you guys are just doing such a tremendous job here. You know, it's like we should get somebody from your league and then we'll just take this show on the road. Because the bottom line is, hardly anybody says no. When we were in production, so to speak, this summer, we tested different lines and it was real easy. You wear a league button and you say, "Hi, I'm from the league. Are you against gerrymandering?" Okay? The majority of the people will say something like, "Hell yes, I'm against it," and they'll sign. The other people will say, "I don't know what it is," and you quickly explain, and they'll sign. We've probably had less than 1% of the people asked that don't sign. And if they don't sign, they're not a registered voter, they don't live in the area, and sometimes they'll say, "We'd like to study it more." Don't waste time arguing with people. The thing is, we've got to get it on the ballot. And sometimes if you have a person who's undecided, you can say, "You're not saying that you're for this. You're saying that you want this on the ballot to let the Illinois voters make that decision." And they'll say, "Yeah, I'd like to see that happen." But the problem's going to be, guys, if we don't get these signatures in, there's not going to be a choice for the Illinois voters. We're going to have the same crappy government that we have right now. And we do deserve better. And one person can make a difference. One person can get these signatures. So each one of you, even if you've already turned in a lot, get 100 more. You've got the shopping list now. Let's go out and get more signatures, please. Other questions? Questions for Michael? Thank you.
Bart, could you give some more details about locally, where people can get petitions or where they can turn them in, or whether there's going to be any further coordination by the local league?
Well, I can say right off the bat that everything Pat said regarding the support and the endorsement from the Chamber of Commerce is certainly true here in Champaign County. They are one of the sites where citizens can just literally walk in off the street, go to the reception desk, and they do have petitions there, and there is someone on staff who is notarized to.
I dropped off a few hundred petitions and cards there today, and they have a big sign on their front desk saying, "Pick them up here."
Yeah. And we're very grateful for that. And I know that they have been actively trying to recruit business members of the Chamber of Commerce to do likewise in their own businesses and shops. I'm not exactly sure of all of the businesses that so far have signed on. I know there are at least 6. And I have been encouraging them to issue a press release with those locations so that people who generally patronize those businesses will make an effort to stop in during this critical period, or those who don't normally patronize them will patronize them in order to have an opportunity to sign. We have this interesting committee, which has no head. We just sort of email each other about opportunities that are coming up to cover events, or if somebody says, I am going to this event, so somebody else can go someplace else. So it's sort of like after we get the Thursday entertainment section from the News Gazette, we're sort of figuring out our weekend. Strangely enough, this has worked marvelously. It really has. And I think we have been at tailgate parties this fall. We have been at, I was at, of all things, a Rebounders luncheon the other day. I am not a great basketball fan, I'll tell you. I felt like the proverbial fish out of water, but there was me, there was Diane, and between the two of us, we collected a number of signatures, and I had lunch with a gentleman from Muhammad who runs a business and who said, I want 5 petitions, and it was wonderful. So we've had so many of those kinds of spontaneous things happen. We have been at, let's see, we were at Farmers Market before the winter set in. We have accepted speaking invitations from a variety of clubs and organizations. I'm going soon to the Exchange Club here in Urbana, and I believe Champaign has one as well. We've been to, I think, 3 or 4 Rotaries. We've been to Kiwanis meetings. We've been to an AMBUCS meeting. And Patricia is right. Many of these organizations are literally hungry for speakers. So in a sense, the message that we're carrying, I think, is very appropriate, and the response has been very similar. They're happy that somebody has taken on this job of getting all these signatures. And personally, I've had people say, Barb, I'm so glad you're doing this. And I'm like, I'm not really doing that. We're all doing this, is what I think is really going on. So it's been a lot of that kind of, it's been an interesting ride, I gotta say that. Yes.
I know that the major effort right now is to get the signatures on a petition, to get the petition approved so that you can have it on the ballot. But between June and November is a very short period of time. What kind of campaign will you see for voters if this is on the ballot?
Michael?
You know, the campaign planning process is something that we are working on right now. It'll be a as robust a statewide campaign as anyone has seen. But right now, phase 1 of this campaign is getting on the ballot. Phase 2 is dealing with any legal challenges that we fully anticipate will happen, be it a signature line-by-line challenge or a challenge in the constitutionality of this. And then we go into the general election campaign. So, I like to say that campaigns are simply math formulas. I have a win number, and I have to figure out how to identify X number of voters that are going to vote for this, and I have to figure out how to turn them out. And then I have to figure out how to persuade the people that I've identified as persuadable. So we'll simply take that equation and figure out a plan and budget accordingly to communicate with voters across the state. It's an expensive state to campaign statewide in, and it's a, I'm from Texas, but I have to admit that this is a very long state. There's a lot of driving involved, and there's a lot of voters in a lot of corners of the state that are equally as frustrated as anyone else.
How many signatures do we have so far? Do you know?
We are, I will give you the same answer that I give to press. We are well on pace to reach our goal before the May 4th deadline. At current pace, we have a coalition volunteer plan and a paid component plan. Like I said earlier, campaigns are all about math, so I know I have to reach benchmarks on a daily and weekly basis, and so far we're reaching all of our benchmarks. We could obviously be doing a little better, but I'm not sure there's any campaign manager in the country that would say that he or she is happy with where things are. So we are well on pace to reach our goal, and we will.
So you're not giving out numbers?
No. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm taking for granted that we'll get this through and it will be voted on in November. Then, do we have to wait until 2020 for it to take effect?
Yes.
Okay.
But I will say, if we're able to drive an 18-wheeler down to Springfield on May 4th with 500,000 signatures in it, can you imagine the ripples that will create alone? That this will be on the ballot? That everyone in this room and in this state assumes the easy part of this campaign is actually Election Day in 2014, and this is the hard part? And if we're able to deliver these signatures to Springfield, the message that will send and the tone that could potentially change immediately will be felt in every corner of this state. I am 100% convinced.
You need to realize that there are literally 3 different campaigns going for position on referendums. One is this one, which has to do with the independent map issue. There's a second for GRIT, the graduated income tax amendment, which works a little differently. And I don't know if I know all the details to draw the differences. And there's also a petition moving around somewhere. Actually, a businessman locally told me that somebody came into his shop looking for a site to leave petitions, and that's the one for limited terms for House and Senate members. And I don't know the relative strength of those other 2 campaigns. And again, because one of the things, in addition to making sure that the people who sign your petition are registered voters, the next question should probably be, have you signed this already? Because I've had some who have mistaken one petition drive for another petition drive, and then they're like, well, I'm not sure which I signed now. So I think as we get closer to some of these deadlines, we're probably going to hear more of that. Well, I know I signed somebody's, and I signed something, and so you need to work with that a little bit more than just yes, I have, no, I haven't.
Could you clarify, the league is against term limits?
Yes, yes. Yes, the League of Women Voters is supporting GRIT. It is supporting Yes for Independent Maps. It is not supporting term limits.
So how do you handle that if they're not sure which one they signed? Do you not have them sign again in case?
Have them sign it.
Have them sign it.
Have them sign it, yeah. That's why we're estimating that we need, closer to 425, 450,000 signatures to account for things like that.
Good questions, every one of them. Anything else? How many in this room have signed this petition? Great, that's good.
And those that haven't, there's a gentleman in the back with those. And don't remember, I have mine right here because I always carry mine with me. So, see one of us.
I'm waiting for someone to quote Pat in the media that she has concealed carry. And I'm waiting to get a call about that. And then I'm waiting to call Pat to tell her that she cannot say that anymore.
And I will say, thank you, Michael, for your interest, because it does make people smile. When you're talking to a group of people, this is serious business. And sometimes you just need a little break and someone needs to smile. But the bottom line is, have these petitions with you. I mean, there's just missed opportunities. I mean, I don't carry it when I go out to the mailboxes. All my neighbors have signed. They know how to do that. But you really need to be serious about this, and people want to sign.
Yes, sir.
In November, how much of a margin does it have to pass by?
Good question.
40 or 2/3?
Yeah, so it has to get 50% plus one of everyone that votes, or which is the more likely scenario, we have to get 60% plus one of everyone that votes on this initiative. Okay? So, a lot of times people will go to the polls and they'll vote on governor and senate, and they'll just stop voting as we go down the ballot. It's called drop off. So we have to get 60% plus one to vote yes on this initiative. Right now, our public polling shows that this is, above 70% across the political divide. Democrats, Republicans, Independents at 70% or above. So it is 100% doable, but we need 60% plus one on election day.
Margaret?
It's my understanding you can only have 3 initiatives on the ballot. Do we run into any danger that there might be people trying to get more on there just so we don't?
No and yes. So there is a limit for 3, but that is a limit of 3 that the state legislature can put on. If they put on their maximum of 3, it does not in any way inhibit us from getting on the ballot. There is no limit on the amount of citizens-initiated petitions to go on the ballot.
So
That's a
the
good question.
BRIT one that is one that we're asking the legislature.
Correct.
This is one
That we put on with
is being done by
signatures.
the people, so-
Exactly, and the status quo cannot keep us off by loading it with 3.
Well, you've been a wonderful audience with great questions. Michael and Patricia and I will be around to talk individually with anyone who still wants to visit. Again, if you haven't signed a petition, there is someone in the back of the room. If you've got some to turn in, Mary will be more than happy to certify and notarize your petition. And we thank you for coming out on such a cold night. I really want to thank our guests for this evening. I think both Michael and Pat have given us a lot to think about, hopefully to energize us to really do more or do something in regards to this matter, because like them, I think this is a very important issue. And and as I think one or both of them said, if we're happy with the way things are going, well, do nothing. But, insanity is trying to work with the same system to get different results. And I think we all know in Illinois that ain't working. Thank you.